Lifestyle Pirates with Big J and Adriano. Warning. In this episode we talk about suicide and depression. If you're suffering from depression, please reach out. Beyond Blue provides information and support to help everyone in Australia achieve their best possible mental health, whatever their age and wherever they live. www.beyondblue.org.au or call the free number on 1300 224636.
Right, good morning, Jack. How are you?
Good morning. I'm very well. Very excited to be here.
Well, thank you for coming
Thanks
in.
for coming on.
Isn't it great to be around people physically?
It's nice.
It's a nice change, definitely.
It is a change.
Yeah.
There was no testing when you came through the door as well. Yeah, temperature testing. And
Oh,
stuff.
okay.
I'm good.
Far out. Far out. Okay.
Let me hit the mic.
Anyway. So welcome to Lifestyle Pirates, Jackie. Thank you
you.
for coming along this morning. Look, well, I'm just going to get straight into it. So when I Googled your name, there's kind of kids dancing programs and then performance coach.
Yes. Worlds apart? Yes.
Worlds apart. But tell us how you kind of got there. Like where was the kids bit coming into it?
Well, I started dancing when I was 4 years old,
Mm-hmm.
and to say that it was an obsession from the start is an understatement. I was just obsessed with dancing. I loved it so much. So it was just a hobby for me, but I loved it so much, and so I did that all up until I was an adult. But when I was about 14 years old, I started teaching dance classes,
Right.
and all of my friends were going to McDonald's to get, to work, and I was teaching dancing, which is, it was really, really fun. I started teaching toddlers because they're just so cute and fun to be around, and just their imagination. At 14, I was actually very self-conscious and had very low self-esteem. So I sort of gravitated towards the toddlers just because they were so full of life and, no care in the world, said the funniest things, were so honest and real with you, and they really made me feel happy. So I continued teaching and vowed that I'd never open a dance school. And despite, when was it? It was probably when I was about 17, and I was thinking, what am I going to do after school? And all I wanted to do was dancing, and I just loved it so much. I went and did a full-time performing arts course, and I remember we were all auditioning for this agency, to get into the agency and then to work, musicals or, dance productions and things like that around Sydney. And I didn't get in, and I was devastated. But I realise now it was such a blessing in disguise, because I had these friends, they'd be working for 6 months and then they'd be unemployed. And then they'd work for 6 months and then they'd be unemployed. And I just thought, I don't want that. Money's not everything, but I need security. And I was still continuing teaching dance classes, and I just naively at 21 with no business experience thought, I'm just going to teach my own classes. I didn't really even think at the time I was starting a business. I didn't really know what that meant. My thinking was, I'm going to teach classes, and instead of my dance teacher or the parents paying my dance teacher who pays me, they'll just pay me directly. And that was my business plan. So I started and...
Pretty simple.
Yeah, pretty simple. I started at 21 in a little school hall, and back in those days, I sound really old, there wasn't really the internet like Facebook and social media. So I designed and printed 80,000 flyers.
Wow.
And walked. That's not the impressive part. Then I walked the streets of my area, probably like 8 or 10 suburbs. It took me 6 weeks every day for like 8 hours, putting flyers in every single letterbox. And I remember I got one call, and it was this little girl, Mia. She was 4 years old. I put on the class like as if there was, 10 people in the class, and she just stuck with me. And I remember thinking at 21, I've made it. I've got one student.
Yeah.
I have made it. I'm running a business. Yes, like this is it. And it just it went from there. I actually got really lucky 3 or 4 weeks after this, just starting in a dance hall, I had an opportunity to take over a purpose-built studio. So this studio was going to receivership. It was going bankrupt. And my mum said to me, you should go and put some flyers for these people at this dance school. This dance school had been around for 8 years or something. And I was like, how about I just take over the building? Like, what's happening with the building? Again, knew nothing about commercial leasing and, ignorance really is bliss sometimes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I ended up, went and talked to the person that was the owner that was closing it down. She said, you can have the whole thing for $5,000. At the time, that was like $100,000 to me because, I'm 21 and making $35 an hour. But I had a friend that was a bit of a mentor that I was living with at the time. And she said, take the money and pay me back, whatever. I had no idea how I was going to pay the rent or anything, but I just had this massive dream. And, we shook hands and it sort of just took off from there.
You paid her back yet?
Yes, I did.
Is she still a friend?
We don't see each other that much anymore.
Right, okay.
But yeah.
Yeah, wow, okay.
Yeah.
And so that was, 14 to 21, that was your bit, you just danced?
All I did was dance.
And was it the music? What kept you, what was it about dancing that was attractive?
I think probably from 4, not that I remember a lot of my childhood, but from 4 to probably, my teenage years, it was very, I probably loved the music, but I didn't know at the time. I guess it's always been it was an emotional release for me. I had
Expression.
a lot of feelings. And I, especially, like I said, when I was 14, I was really struggling with my self-esteem and who I was and a lot of big feelings. And I would just dance and it was like, I guess, like a drug for me. It was just this release and I'd just feel amazing and accepting of myself and really good, even if it's just for, the 4 hours that I was training at dancing. But I was there, 6 days a week and then teaching and I guess giving back. And I think music and dancing combined, it's exercise. It gets all of your brain and your body moving. It's so good for your soul. Yeah. And it really was an expression for me to get out of my head, really. Yeah.
So how many years did you have your studio?
Just almost 14 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, okay. And was it always toddlers? Was it always kids?
No. So it started off with that one toddler. But I had a big dream. It was like a 20-year goal because most dance studios, they run for 20, 25, 30 years. And so in my head, I was like, that's how long it's going to take to build it up. And my dream was to be the biggest in Western Sydney, and one of the best studios in Sydney was 10 minutes down the road from me. But I didn't care. I had this dream and I just was so passionate and focused that I ended up making it happen in 5 years. And we had crews and I think I had about 700 kids and all adults. So from 4 till, we even took adult classes. Maybe the oldest was like maybe 50 or 60.
That's nice.
But the toddlers sort of came into it because most dance schools started their classes from 4 years old. And I just noticed that when I was teaching my classes in the waiting area, the younger kids, the siblings, were like 18 months old and they were dancing and they'd run into the room and I'd have to chase them out, but they were dancing and moving and just wanted to get in there. And I thought, why don't I just put on a class for 18 months old, with some maracas and some tambourines and the wiggles and we'll just see what happens. Yeah. And I did, and it was just a crazy, massive hit. Like it was amazing. And then all these people started coming. And so in a short time, I'd grown my toddler section of the studio to like 250 kids. So I got really excited about that. And I was a bit overwhelmed. I was working so much. I was just, I'd get up at 8, or I'd get to the studio at 8 and I'd teach my toddler classes till 1. I'd eat, I'd get in a nap and some choreography for the classes at night, and then I'd teach from 4 till like 10 o'clock at night. I was doing that every day. And I guess the toddlers came into it, or specialising. So I had my studio for 5 years and then I completely specialised just in babies and toddlers, so from 6 months to 6 years of age. And that came about because I had these parents, so we were doing these classes for 18 months olds and 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds. And I had a lot of these parents coming up to me and saying, actually I had one mum come up to me crying her eyes out. And she goes, you've changed my daughter's life. You've changed my daughter's life. And I'm, what have I done? She said she wasn't speaking I think she was 18 months old. She wasn't speaking at all, like wouldn't talk at all. And then 6 months with my classes, she's speaking and her cognition's better. She's starting to pick up pencils and things. She wasn't able to do that before. The only thing we've changed is coming to your classes.
Wow.
I was like, oh,
That's pretty powerful.
that's
fantastic.
amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. And I didn't really know what I was doing. I was just intuitively doing these classes, and the kids were just happy and I was happy. And then I got a few more of these stories. I'm like, there's something in this. I've got to learn, like, what's happening here. So I ended up doing some study on the brain and development, like early learning and development. I travelled to Seattle and did some study there about neural pathways and what happens during the first, 0 to 7 years of development. And I realised that my programs were doing what the science books said you need to do to improve cognition and emotional development, all areas of development.
Wow.
I was like, wow, this is so cool that, I kind of intuitively know what I'm doing, but I need to study this and really understand what I'm doing here and make it better for the kids. So then I decided to rebrand the studio. It was Ministry of Dance, and rebranded it to Munchie Movers, and then we just took kids from 6 months to 7 years of age. Yeah.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And you miss it?
Yes and no. I feel like, I closed the studio obviously to go into coaching because of personal reasons, but I felt like I'd really achieved a lot. And I just felt like I was sort of done. Like I've been teaching since I was 14 and, dancing and do you know what I miss? I miss the creativity. I really miss moving and I find myself dancing a lot at home in the living room and even just practicing dances off YouTube and pretending I'm in a dance class. And, now that when dance studios go back, I'll probably go to the city and do dance classes. Like I really miss the physicality and the creativity, probably the expression of it, but not so much the teaching or,
Did you get more feedback from the children compared to the adults? Like, was there something in that as well?
With the toddlers or... the toddlers, they don't even know that they're learning. They're just having the best time. Like I created a curriculum that had 5 programs, all based on the early years learning framework for Australia. And they don't know, like we're jumping around as unicorns and hopping on dots and pretending that we're fairies, and there was heaps of dress ups and things like that. They just thought they're having a great time. But I think the parents, even if they weren't there for the developmental side, they just saw how much fun they were having and that they could be kids. I think a lot of kids, especially with technology, we're just growing up too fast, So I think it was good for the parents to see their kids so happy and not on a screen, Yeah.
It's funny how that kind of simple stuff, dancing, dressing up, music is you kind of portrayed as an escape nowadays, even going out kicking a ball around, going for a run, going for a walk, it's seen as an escape, whereas actually that's what you should be doing.
We've lost a lot of play, I think, and I think that's why I'm dancing around in my living room still and who cares if anyone can see me, and like if it feels good for me, I'm going to do it. Yeah.
So you stopped the dancing, and then you mentioned about the coaching side of things. What was the transition? Because 14 years, running your own business, a studio, being surrounded by people all the time.
Yeah.
That's then quite a transition to move into the coaching side of things.
Yeah, it is.
What was that like?
For me, it was a very personal reason why. So despite, helping these kids and living my dream and all of this, the whole way through, since I was 14 years old, I said I struggled with my self-esteem. I actually really struggled with depression, and I realise now at 14 years old I became suicidal. And I remember thinking at 14, big thoughts for a 14-year-old, but, why am I here? What is my purpose? And I just didn't know why I was put on this planet. And I'm a bit of a deep thinker and I can be quite intense, but I just needed to know why I was here. And I really couldn't figure that out. I really wanted to make something great of my life, of myself. I wanted to be a dancer or a performer in some sort of area like that. And I remember thinking I could never do that. I never thought I was good enough. I really struggled with that belief, I'm not good enough. And at 14 years old, I remember thinking, I was actually really angry that I was even alive. Like, why am I here? I wanted not to be here. I want to die.
Is this pre you discovering dancing?
This is when I was 14.
Yeah.
So I'd been dancing the whole time.
Yeah.
Right.
And then I started teaching. I said before, it was a bit of an escape for me. So
Right.
I had these big feelings. Then I go and teach the toddlers, and it was a bit of a, a relief.
Right.
Purpose.
Yeah, yeah. I think at that time mental health wasn't talked about at all. Even depression or anxiety, I didn't know what I was feeling. And I remember I sort of tried to talk to maybe my friends, but it was very, I don't know, I was like, I felt that I wasn't a good enough dancer. And looking back, I was probably one of the best in the class. So they kind of took it as, oh, you're just looking for attention. And I thought, oh, okay, I'm not. But, so I really struggled with these feelings that they just got worse and worse. And I think with dancing, it's sort of intensified because dancing is probably one of the most critical, performing arts you can do, because usually dancing by yourself, I was heavily involved in competitions. So you're up on stage on your own and then you just get scrutinised. So it was feeding that I'm not good enough, and then I just wanted that praise or validation. If I didn't get it, you're right, I'm not good enough. If I did get it, I didn't believe it. So, I mean, all of that sort of stemmed from my childhood. So in my childhood, there's actually a really great book called The 5 Love Languages. Have you heard of it?
The 5
Love Languages?
Love Languages.
By Gary Chapman.
Okay.
So write it down, because and if your listeners are listening, it's a really, really good book. It's about how we give and receive love in different ways. So if you give love in a certain way but you don't receive it that way, it's like me telling you that I love you in Spanish all day long. It's not going to matter. You're not going to get it. So I didn't realise, this is sort of where I sort of figured out along the way where my really depressive thoughts came from, not feeling good enough, was in my childhood. My parents loved me to death, loved me. But these 5 love languages, so there's 5 love languages. There's physical touch, words of affirmation, gifts. I'm going to forget them now. Physical touch, words of affirmation, acts of service, gifts, and quality time. So, and usually the way that you give love is the way that you receive love. So for me, my mum, she gave acts of service. So she would just do everything for us all the time. And we also got really great gifts at Christmas and birthdays, like the best gifts ever. And I'm very grateful, and it was great. But I am such a words of affirmation person. You could not buy me a gift, not do anything other than tell me that I'm amazing, you think I'm wonderful and I'm going to be great. And I'll be like, yes, like that is it for me. And I didn't realise at the time they were loving me so much, but I just I wasn't feeling loved, because, they were proud of me and they'd say, I love you. But it was, I'd come out of a dance class or a dance competition. I'm like, Mum, what'd you think? How did I go? And she'd be like, yeah, you're good. Well, what do you want for dinner? Like, tell me I'm good. I just craved that, the words. And I think because I missed that so much in my childhood, I got everything else. And maybe if I didn't get everything else, it would have been different. But, I really associated silence with not being good enough. And so, the words that you hear or don't hear as a child become your inner voice, your inner critic. So at 14, I'm like, well, I'm not good enough. I haven't been told I'm not good enough. So it's confirmed I'm not good enough. So I really had this really bad self-talk and bad beliefs all the way through, even when I started my studio. And it got to, I was about 25, I think, or 26. And I had attempted to take my life once. And then this was sort of the second time. I'm like, this is ridiculous. So this is 15 years of being depressed and having suicidal thoughts. Like, that is a really long time. It's really exhausting, especially when you don't have help. People don't understand it. And so I came across this guy, Bob Proctor, which I now work with, and watched a video, a seminar of him. And he just kept on saying, basically, you can have anything you want. You can turn your life around, no matter what you want, not just mental health, success, money, whatever you want, you can have it. So I took his word for it, because the alternative was, it was literally life or death. And I made a list of all the things that he said to do, and I just committed to myself that I'm going to do this, and I'm going to prove, hopefully, him right. And I have to stop these thoughts, otherwise I just can't. I can't go on anymore. It was like, if you've never experienced depression, especially like suicidal thoughts. It's like having, you know, like Dwayne Johnson, like The Rock, two of them just standing over your shoulder, just yelling abuse at you 24/7. Like, you're crap, you suck, everyone hates you, no one will care if you're alive. Just die, just go kill yourself. Like, you're a piece of shit, just die, you know. And that was 24/7. So I'm still dancing.
Heavy.
Yeah, and I'm still dancing and I'm still doing all this stuff. But as soon as I was alone with my thoughts, or sometimes my thoughts were so loud that I just couldn't stop that. You know, 15 years, that's, you know, for
Exhausting.
me, exhausting. And no one, I mean, I've been to doctors, but no one could really help me. And I remember going to doctors and saying, you know, they knew that I was suicidal, but they never asked me once, what thoughts are you thinking, or what things are you hearing? So this guy, Bob Proctor, I was like, right, I'm going to do everything he says. And I did, literally changed my habits, daily habits, forced myself to think louder than these negative thoughts. And it didn't work for probably, I don't know, 2 months. I didn't feel anything. I felt like I was banging my head against a brick wall. But then I remember one day I was totally about to give up, and I was on the floor crying, and I thought, I can't do this. Like, this isn't working. Like, what is wrong with me? You know, why do I feel like this? Why can't I get through this? And I just made a decision that, you know what, I know how these negative thoughts, I know where that path leads. I've been there. What if I just keep doing what I've told myself I'm going to do? Maybe something will change, hopefully. If not, it's still better to be consciously thinking better thoughts than listening to that. So I decided to do that. The next morning I got up, and for the first time in probably 15 years, I heard silence.
Wow.
Oh.
And it was just like, I actually remember walking around my living room, like looking for the voices that, you know, had been tormenting me, and they weren't there. It was like the most beautiful sound of silence ever. And I didn't tell anyone. I didn't do anything. I just went about my day, and I thought, you know what, I bet you they'll be back tomorrow. They'll be back tomorrow. Like, it can't be, you know. And I woke up the next day, silence. And I thought, oh my God, like, I've done it, you know, wow. So I think from that experience, I was like, I need to tell people about this material, what I've done, not just for mental illness, but, you know, like, he talks a lot about success and building businesses and works with high performers, and, you know, we've all got the same mind and we all have thoughts and beliefs, and it's the same principles to change anything in your life. So, yeah, that's sort of why I guess my passion changed from dancing and helping little kids that, you know, you have a personal experience, you want to talk about it, especially with mental illness as well. Like, I do work with high performers and business, but I think it's important that I share my story because there is such a stigma still.
Yeah, no, well, I mean, you touch on the thoughts and beliefs. We had we spoke to Dan Murray from Empathic Consulting, who kind of talks a lot about that. I mean, it's a mindset thing, right? So how 100%. Do you, I guess, going through the journey where you've changed your mindset, and I like the fact that you kind of highlighted that it was over 2 months. You know, that's quite a short period of time considering the journey over 15 years. Yeah. And a lot of habits change. I think they say it takes 90 days to form a habit or something, and like a week to go back to what you know. How did you alter that mindset? So your thoughts and beliefs, what was the kind of stuff you were doing to change it?
So the first thing I did was, that I heard him say, so for the longest time, until I heard him actually, I thought that my thoughts were me. And I thought that even these other voices, it sounded like me, it was my voice, and I believed everything I thought, and I believed my beliefs. And a belief is just a thought you keep thinking, and I'm sure everyone's heard before that if you just hear something over and over again, you'll start to believe it, whether it's true or not, you know. And so I really started to look at, okay, what am I believing that maybe I can question? Like, you know, is it true that I am hopeless and terrible and unsuccessful and, you know, well, no. And even if it is true, I don't actually have to believe that. So it was a matter of writing out, what do I believe? What do I want to believe? And really basically at the start, it was just every time I had a thought of you suck or you can't, I can. I just, the law of polarity, I would just say the opposite to what I was thinking. And I didn't believe it at first. There's no way that I believed that, I was successful, but I really didn't believe it at my core. I thought I had to do this, if I get to the next level, then I will be, or if I get to the next level, then I'll be happy. So I did that. I created what I call a habitual ritual, which is like a morning ritual of just stuff that I would do every single day. I just try to do as much as I can. So in the morning I'd wake up and the first thought, even now I have, is something wonderful is going to happen today, even if I didn't believe it. Something wonderful is going to happen today. Then I'd stand up and I'd stand in front of my mirrored wardrobe and I'd say, I love you, I believe in you, you're amazing. Didn't believe it, but just forced myself. I think from dancing I have such self-discipline. So I just forced myself through tears, through anger, through laughing at myself, going like, come on, like I don't believe myself at all, but I'm just going to keep saying that I do. So I did things like that. I really started to study the mind, the subconscious mind, and which I think you talked with Dan about, just that, our subconscious mind is controlling 97% of our behaviour, and 97% of that behaviour is habitual. So it made me realise that whilst, yes, I have been suicidal and yes, I have been depressed and had anxiety, I've actually created neural pathways and thought patterns of habitually thinking that I'm depressed. So it sort of became my default. So even if I was thinking positively, I programmed myself 15 years to think depressive thoughts, to think suicidal thoughts. So for me, my go-to, and I know this is going to sound very dramatic, but if something went wrong, my go-to for so long was, I'll just go kill myself. And I know but I'd program myself because I kept telling myself over and over and over again that I was depressed, that I was suicidal, and I had those thoughts. So as long as they're playing, it's like a broken record. That's what I'm living out. So I had to reprogram that 97%, and just, I guess, really black and white. I've got this program that says I'm depressed. I want this program that says I believe in myself and I love myself. So I'm just going to keep feeding that program, and the old one has to die. The laws of the universe say that. It has to die. So I just was very persistent.
And you got me onto this as well, which I do thank you for. You do daily gratitude.
I do.
I know what it is, but maybe for listeners and people that are watching, what is it and what kind of things do you do?
So I practice, there's two things that I do with gratitude, and maybe the second one is the more powerful one that people maybe don't know about. I think gratitude's becoming a lot more common. We have so much to be grateful for. Just give someone with their internet connection not working and you will see their true character. You know what I mean? Fly off the handle. And you hear about stories of, people that in these countries that have so much less than us, and they're, we're in Thailand in January and everyone's just smiling. They're sitting in the streets and they're just smiling. And I actually said to Chris, I was like, what are they laughing? What are they smiling about? They're just happy. When we've got everything and we're like, So I consciously, I usually write 10 things. I'm so happy and grateful now that, and it can be simple, I have a hot shower or I have coffee. I'm so grateful for just, I try and do basic things like that because honestly, when I don't have coffee, do you know what I mean though? Like I know it's basic, but sometimes I've run out of coffee pods and it's not an ideal morning. So I think it's important to be grateful for, those things. We've been in isolation and I get my eyelashes done. I haven't been able to. And I physically look different. I haven't seen how I really look.
I didn't recognise you when you walked in.
I've got them done now.
I've
got them done now.
We can edit that out.
But do you know what I mean? Like and I know that's very materialistic, but it's something that's important to me that I like to do, and I'm just really grateful that I can have the things I have or have the relationships that I have, that I can be here with you guys, and I think one really important thing about gratitude, you can get into a bit of a habit of just going happy for coffee, happy for this, grateful for this, grateful for this, tick, 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 I've done gratitude today. And the trick is to really feel it. Like I try and get to the point where I'm almost crying from gratitude. just like really sitting, even if I only get 1 or 2 out, like,
Happy tears though, yeah?
yeah, like I can't believe that this is, you know, my life, and even where I've come from or whatever. Like, what have I got right now? You know, I've got air conditioning, I've got a roof over my head, I've got the most amazing husband, and just sitting and thinking about that, not just going, I've got an amazing husband, I've got, you know, air conditioning, woohoo, great. Yeah. But it's really about the feelings, because the feelings change your state of being, change your level of vibration, and then you will attract better things to you.
Vibration?
The law of vibration.
Did you say vibration?
I did.
Right, go on.
So there's a law. Everyone's heard of the law of attraction, right? Mm-hmm. You put out, you get back. So the law of attraction is actually a secondary law. There's the law of vibration. So everything vibrates, nothing rests. Frequencies, yes. So there's an infinite number of frequencies, and everyone that's connected to the one above is connected to the one below. So this chair is moving, it's vibrating, it's operating on a frequency. Your phone is operating on a frequency. My hair's operating on a frequency. And so frequency of, say, I don't know, depression would be, you know, really down here. And frequency of I don't know, winning the grand final is up here.
Right.
And you think that they're so far apart, but you can take yourself from this feeling into that feeling just in your imagination, which is what you do in gratitude.
Right.
So if you're up here, then you're attracting all of the good stuff that's up here to you right now, even if you feel like you're in this depressed state. So it changes your frequency in your body.
So do you do the daily gratitude first thing in the morning as soon as you wake up, or do you have the coffee first?
I have a daily ritual that takes me about an hour in the morning that I do. So it's like I work my mind and then I work my body. So the body is the instrument of the mind. If I can get my mind right, then I go and exercise. So I'll get up and I have coffee. I'll sit and change my state, which is what we're talking about with the law of vibration. So I imagine, and this is what I do in gratitude as well, this is the second thing I was going to talk about. I imagine my goal, but from my goal. So how do I feel now that I have achieved my goal? And I sit there until I feel the elation of that feeling, and I can physically feel my body change and my posture change, and I am smiling and crying because, oh my God, I've just achieved my goal. Like, what would that feeling be like? Who's congratulating me? Who's around me? I'm so excited. I've achieved it. And then I persistently try and stay in that state all day. So my vibration's really high. And then I'll go and do gratitude, and I do a few other question things that I do just to set my mind. This is who I'm going to be. This is who I want to be. This is who I'm becoming, and try and stay in that state, not be natural Jaclyn here.
Yeah,
it's funny you talk about the visualization. We spoke to Coach Gemma, who had a boxing career, and she referenced that, you know, when she was training, she would visualize, you know, knocking out her opponent.
Yeah.
Not an aggressive person at all, but would visualize it, and then when it happened, you're kind of halfway there, and that feeling.
Yeah.
That's what you're kind of talking about, right? So
exactly.
you've kicked the goal, you've got the deal, whatever the goal is, you're visualizing what that feels like, and then I guess the body would just move towards that, and then the mind is moving towards that because it feels good.
Yeah. So everything's created twice, once in the mind and then
Say again?
Everything's created twice.
Can't believe you fell for that.
Oh, I did too. Once in the mind and once in physical. And we're just so used to living by our senses. We can hear, see, smell, taste and touch.
Yep.
And we go, so this is real. I'm sitting here and this is real. And we identify with where we are so much. Right now I'm this, but in my mind and my goals, I want to be here. But we tell ourselves, because I can hear, see, smell, taste and touch, that I'm here. But in our imagination, visualization, you can be anywhere. And, you know, there is a place. Like, it's not out there. There's no time and space. So if you persistently go to that image that you have in your imagination and you believe that it is real as if it's happening right now, then it's like that level of vibration. It's going to come to you and physicalize because you've been there so many times in your mind.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
That's happened to me many times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how it happens.
Yeah.
Every time. Yeah.
Give an example.
I knew you were going to ask that. No, just stuff with work where I see a goal that I want to achieve and I visualize it, and I'm there more than I am in the present state.
That's it, right
and
there.
then it comes to fruition.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah.
I love it. That's fair.
Yeah, it's good.
It's funny, just looking back at your journey when you were talking about the visualizing and the state when you've hung around kids for a lot. And that's what kids do, right? They've got their imagination.
Yeah.
They're not aware of where they are. They're living in their playtime.
100%. So from 0 to 7, they're living in this theta brainwave, which means they're unconscious. It's where you are when you're sleeping. They're not conscious. They don't become conscious as in making decisions. Like and I used to do this all the time. This is my whole curriculum. We're going to play unicorns today. There's a unicorn hiding in the cupboard. No, there's not. Yes, there is. Let's see if and they believe it because they don't have the ability to go, you know what, Jaclyn, that doesn't really sound logical to me. Yeah, they haven't learnt those skills yet. So
there's a unicorn on your hand, I noticed.
there is.
I was going to bring that up later. I can't stop looking at it. It's so sparkly.
Oh. It's a little good luck charm. Love unicorns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Picked up on that.
So I think, they did, I've done a little bit of diving into alter egos, which I'm reading about at the moment. They did this experiment with, because a lot of successful people, and this is what we're talking about, visualizing, they have alter egos for, they might feel anxious or they can't do something. So then they become Batman, and Batman can always do, X, Y, and Z.
Yep.
So, and I guess that's really it's about being in that state, the emotional state of what you want to achieve. So with little kids, they did this experiment. They put them in in a room. Oh, there was 3 groups. One group had just normal clothes on, and they had a chest, a box with a lock that they need to open. The next group had the same box, but they were told that they were superheroes. Then the third group had a box, and then they were given like clothes. So they were dressed as Spider-Man, Superman, whatever, and the same. The first group gave up easily because they were like, it's just not working. We can't get into it. These are like 4 and 5-year-old kids. The second group, they were like, who are you going to be? Who are you going to be? I'm going to be Batman. Okay, cool. So then they went out, and they went a little bit longer, and actually a lot longer than the first group. And the third group, who were dressed in it, they went, you couldn't actually open the lock. The lock was impossible to open. But the third group, they were dressed in, Batman, and I think one was Dora and someone else. And they just kept going. The people had to come in and stop them. And they actually overheard the kids saying, come on, we can do this. Batman wouldn't give up. Batman wouldn't.
Wow.
Batman knows how to do it. Batman can do anything, And it's about, I think we identify so much with who we are and our limitations, and I'm not good at that, or, and I guess the whole point of the alter ego is that if you're projecting that you're something else, a better version of yourself, then if you become that, then you're going to try and unlock the box because Batman's not going to give up, Whereas I go, Jaclyn would give up, but Batman doesn't, and we just have this amazing ability in our imagination to, even as I do that, my posture changes, to take ourselves to a place. But as adults, we're just so conditioned to, don't be stupid. What are you doing? Be normal. Just, yes, visualize, but only visualize like this. Don't put on a cape and walk around the house. Why not? If that's going to...
Such suppression.
Yeah. So I guess I've got that from the kids, and I probably don't care as much because, but and my journey. But if you can project that you already are that person, then you're going to start living as that person and you'll eventually become that person.
So how do you bring that in? So with your coaching, how do
I talk about superheroes?
but seriously, I mean, obviously you're not coaching kids, you're coaching CEOs, you're coaching leaders of businesses, you're coaching people throughout their career. How do you bring that, it sounds quite obvious and quite playful and jovial. How do you bring that into the room or their journey?
I think, especially with successful people, most of them are unconscious competence. And by that I mean they've gotten to where they are because intuitively, like me, intuitively, I just started a business and then started a program and it just happened to work, and then I did the science behind it, And I think so many successful people are like that. They're just like, but isn't it just obvious that you keep persisting until, isn't it obvious that you just visualize? And there's so many things that are inbuilt in us that seems really obvious. But I think that, and for everyone, we have these self-limiting beliefs. So you can be as successful as you want, but we always reach a point where we're not getting, as far. There was a client in LA that I think he was earning like 200 grand or something a year, and then very quickly went up to 300, like in 6 months or something, but then just stopped. And I think he had a goal of maybe $1 million a year. And he's like, I can't get past the 300. Now, I know some people are going, oh, that's great. You should just be satisfied with that. But he really had this goal. He was very successful. I think he was a movie producer and had the Bentley, had the Lamborghini, had the penthouse, had all of it. But he couldn't get past this 300. And then that became a self-limiting belief for him. And I think it's about doing the illogical. So if you've got a goal and he's going, I can't get there. Well, why don't you just imagine what would imply that you're there? And it may sound silly. And, we do in my coaching, we do silly things. We do childlike things because they work. Children learn through repetition. Adults learn through repetition. We just don't like it. We read a book and go, I've already read it. I've already seen that movie. I don't need to see it again. But there's so much learning in going over and over and over the same thing, because you discover more about you and you discover more about what you're reading. And do the illogical, because a lot of the time at these high level, people, logic only can get you so far. And you can intuitively visualize and do all this. But I think when you really want to go for something big, you have to do the crazy. And a lot of people don't want to do the crazy because it's crazy.
And they're probably told by their friends that it's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, what do you mean? You can't do that?
Yeah. Like imagine if, you came over to my house and I was trying to,
You'd be dancing, first of all.
I'd be dancing, but, and often even I would, if I wanted to feel powerful or something, I might throw on I've got lots of dress ups, throw on a cape, or I might, whack on a tiara. But if you came over, you go, what are you doing? Like, and then I'd be embarrassed. But kids aren't like that. They're like, I'm being Batman. What do you mean? What am I doing? Look at my moves.
You normie.
Yeah. And I think the first thing, something I love about kids is, so if we were kids and we were going to say play, I don't know, a basketball game, the first thing kids do is go, okay, who are you going to be? I'm going to be Michael Jordan. Who are you going to be?
Yeah,
but we don't do, and they go, I'm going to be Michael Jordan. And then they start playing like Michael Jordan, not, the kid version of it, but like the example I gave before, they embody, if I'm Michael Jordan, then he'd do this and he'd shoot from back here, whereas I probably wouldn't try and take that shot from way back there because Jaclyn is not good at basketball. But if I'm Michael Jordan, then
You're the best.
I'm the best. Does that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So why do high performers need sort of coaching?
Why does Michael Jordan need coaching?
It's valid. Yeah.
I think, if you want to go to the next level in anything, you need someone who either knows how to get there or has been there before.
Yeah.
And I think, like we said before, everyone has these self-limiting beliefs. So I talk a lot about, I know we've talked about this, John, paradigms. So a paradigm is a multitude of a mental program. A paradigm is a mental program that has almost exclusive control over your habitual behaviour. And we said before that 97% of your behaviour is habitual. So we've got paradigms for everything, how we fall in love, how we make money, the jobs, the choices that we make. And so I think that people sometimes think that I'll just change a few habits and then I should be able to buy my dream home or get the dream relationship. But there's all these habits that form this paradigm that 97% of your behaviour is unconscious. Like you go through your day, like think about that.
Yeah.
3% of the time you're making conscious decisions or you're conscious of what you're doing. So for high performers, I think they're so good at what they do, but they get stuck because they're just so used to doing the same thing. So you've got to change the paradigm if you're going to change, which is your habits and behaviours, if you're going to change your results. So how do you change a paradigm? You look at your beliefs. What are your self-limiting beliefs? And, you know, the CEO, the barista, me, you guys, everyone has self-limiting beliefs. Some belief that's not serving them, that's not allowing them to go to the next level, or not even the next level. Like I really work in, you know, like quantum leaps, like that imagination thing. How far do you want to go? Like what do you really want your life to look like? Not just incremental gains, which is, I think, very logical. Yeah.
So what kind of things would you be, what have you kind of come across with some of these, you know, successful people, and how have you helped them to go to that next level or achieve that quantum leap?
So I think one thing that I worked with one guy that had just never written goals down. Do you guys write your goals down?
Yes.
Do you? Very good.
Do you want to share one?
Oh, I knew you were going to say that. So what are they? Yeah. Domination.
That's a good goal. That's a quantum leap. Most people, though, with goals, though, they, you know, they're very realistic goals. So I sort of talk about A, B, and C type goals. An A type goal is something that you can do. You could go and get the same job somewhere else. Not a goal, boring, no inspiration. A B type goal is something that you probably think that you can do if you maybe upskilled a little bit, get that job promotion, start that side hustle. But again, it's sort of just realistic. You know, you've got a Ducati, don't you? Mm-hmm. And there's a new one that's just come out. Mm-hmm. So would you like that new one?
That's been written down.
No. Would you like the new one?
Yeah, of course.
Do you think that's a good goal?
Yeah, of course it is. Something to go for.
Wrong.
No, it's no good.
No, because you already have a Ducati. You know how to get a Ducati.
But that one's faster and it's fully carbon fibre.
But it's still a Ducati.
Yeah, it is.
So it's a B type goal. I'm not saying don't get it. I'm
Okay.
just saying it's a B type goal. Like you can get it, but you already know how to do it. So the point of a goal is to grow and become more of, you know, draw your greatness out. So these successful people, I believe there's so much inside of us that, you know, no one could come in here and tell you what you're capable of.
Yeah.
You couldn't even tell me what you're capable of.
True.
You have no idea what you could do. And so I think it's about drawing that out, and you do that with quantum leaps and a C-type goal. So a C-type goal is a goal that something you have never done before, something that you would have absolutely no idea how to do, and probably a goal that someone would laugh at you if if you said, I'm going to triple my income in 6 months, they'd go, yeah. Are you? How are you? And then the first question most people would say is, how are you going to do that? Yeah. Which is why, and that's probably the first question that you say to yourself, like I think this is what I come across a lot. What's your goal? And it takes, 3 or 4 times, maybe even longer, asking the same question. What do you really want inside of you? What do you really want? And people go, I'd like a bigger house, or I'd like this, or I'd like this. No, but what do you really want? What's the goal? And people don't say what the goal is because they go, I have no idea how I'm going to do that. And I feel stupid for even wanting that, know. And that's what I deal with, and that's what I love, drawing that out. Because who do you have to become? If you want to be the next Elon Musk, for example, who do you have to become to be that? Like that's where the excitement is. You have to draw on so much stuff that's inside of you that you don't even know that's in there to become that.
So what's the difference between a high performer and just a normal person? There is none then. It's just thought process.
Yeah. There's one mind, one consciousness. I heard someone once explain it like the mind is like it's like a living room. You can set a living room. You can get an interior designer, the best one, Vogue's interior designer, to come in and they can set the room. And you could walk in and go, oh my, like it would just be amazing, like, worthy of the front cover. And then you could get someone else, probably like me, because I'm not that good at designing, to come in, exactly the same furniture, exactly the same room, and then I could set it and you'd go, oh, okay, cool. Yeah. Same room, same furniture, different arrangement.
Yeah.
And that's what I think, we've all got thoughts, we've all got access to the same thoughts. We can all choose our beliefs. So we can all arrange our mind any way we want, but some people arrange it with bad thoughts, bad beliefs, and just accept that that's just how my living room looks. That's just how my mind is. That's just who I am, And other people go, no, I don't want that. I want to arrange it so that it's serving me.
Yeah.
So how much of that high performance piece is repetition?
What do you mean?
So how much would you say? So if you look at someone that takes up basketball, and we mentioned Michael Jordan earlier on. So he was just on it all the time.
Yeah.
And practicing all the time, working out, training, practicing. Would you say that by doing that all the time, and maybe the positive thoughts as well, that's led him to be the high performer, whereas some people just they quit early or they don't do. Do you know what I mean? Like, I guess living through what you're doing.
Yeah.
A bit like me working in sales, making calls all the time. In theory, you should get better and become a high performing salesperson by doing it all the time. If you just do it once or twice and it doesn't work, then you're like, "Ooh, not for me." So, would you say actually repeating and that process over and over and over and over again leads to high performance?
Yes and no. I think that repetition, we were talking about earlier before we started, recording, that you can learn any skill. I could learn to play basketball. Definitely.
Or a violin.
Yeah, or a violin. I could I think that is one of the most amazing things about humans is that you really can, especially in this day and age, turn on YouTube. You could learn anything that you want.
That's how I became a mechanic. No, I'm joking. Sorry.
But, you can learn anything. But, can I see myself being Michael Jordan? No, I can't. So I could practice as much as him. I could probably practice more than him. But if I'm not obsessed, like he was completely obsessed and consumed by being the best. And I think that you have to have, and something that I've really learned from transitioning from my first business, a dance studio, to coaching is what is that ingredient that successful people have, really successful people? And I really think that obsession is something that will trump talent, will trump so many things. And I think also that obsession takes care of a lot of other stuff. So if you're wanting just to get better at something, then I'm going to have to force myself to be disciplined. I'm going to have to force myself to be persistent. I'm going to have to consciously, use my imagination, get involved in visualization. If I'm obsessed, all of that's taken care of. If I'm obsessed, I'm out there, I'm doing it. I'm not thinking about I'm being disciplined or how many hours I've done. I'm so obsessed with the goal, so obsessed with getting better. And I think that that's the mindset that creates all the other stuff. Then I'm just going to train more, which is the repetition. I'm just going to work on my mind more, which is the repetition. And I think that's what I probably did with my mind and probably still do now. And how obsessed am I? And I actually ask myself that during the day if I'm, how obsessed am I with this goal? If I'm feeling, you just have days where you're not feeling productive and you can't get into it. Well, how obsessed are you? Are you obsessed? And then that's a trigger for me to go, right.
Yeah.
I need to, just do the work. And I think it's really about that than just doing repetition. And you've got to, that's the C goal. That's where the inspiration comes.
Yeah. So do you see many kind of traits? Is there a personality trait that you see with the people that you coach? No? Different characters?
Everyone's human. I think everyone wants to feel, the people that I work with, everyone wants to feel that they're doing the best they can. And I think successful people, they're always, I guess that's a trait. Doesn't matter what goal you reach, you always want more, don't you? And I think that that's a really good trait to have. You should never be satisfied with what you've got. Grateful, like what we talked about before, definitely. I'm so grateful, but what more is inside of you? And I think that saying that to my clients, what else can you've got one life, we've got one life. What else can you draw out of you that can help other people, can use your voice, can, just do something that you love to do? I think we limit ourselves so much. And often people will come to me and they go, all right, I want to make this amount of money, or this is my goal. But as we start to work together, it's just I really want this, or I want to make this amount of money, but why? Because I want to go on holidays with my family, and then it becomes their goal really is about family or lifestyle, not just about what they think it is at the start. And I think I love seeing that growth.
Have you got an example of that? You don't have to use names, but where you've seen that transition?
Yeah, I mean, I had this one lady actually. So she started with me, and it actually took her a while. She didn't really have a goal. It probably took her 6 weeks to even. She kept doing the exercises. So we have these exercises that you do every single day, and you're writing out what you want every single day. And it was started off as materialistic, and she just didn't know what her goal was. And finally, she had she was a personal trainer, and she wanted to start her own business. And so I said, do you want to make your business? Do you want to? She goes, I think there's that moment of that relaxing relief where she goes, I don't even want it to be a massive business. I just want to be able to provide for my family. I just want to not work so many hours. I think a lot of people do in small business, they work so many hours. You get into business for yourself, to work for yourself and choose your own hours, but you end up working way more than you would for someone else.
True.
She goes, I want time. I want time. That's your goal then, and then we work towards that. So I think that there's definitely a process. I think I see it with everyone, because when we're working together, it's just a growth thing. You think that you want something, or you think who you are, but you uncover the layers and uncover what's really important to you.
And how long do you tend to work with people?
So I do the program that I have is 6 months. So 6 months.
But I mean, are you checking in? Is it like you catch up at the start? I guess, how does it work?
So we meet together, and the first lesson that we do is a worthy ideal. What is your goal? So the program that I teach, this is Bob Proctor's program. We do it for 2 weeks. So talking about repetition, you listen to the same audio recording from Bob Proctor twice a day, every single day for 2 weeks. And
right.
And then a logical, right? What adult wants to sit around listening to a 25-minute recording? It's a good recording, but do the illogical. And then there's a worksheet that you do that just, writing causes thinking. So you just start to write out, what do I want? And it's usually at the start, what do I think I want? What do I think I want? But then, as I was saying before, then you start to uncover, what do I really, really want? And I think we have access to so much these days that we don't really know what we really, really want. And I think a lot of the time we push it away because, as I said before, we don't know how to get it. So we do that for 2 weeks. I meet with them every week. We do a webinar. We have a Q&A every fortnight, and I have 6 intense sessions with them, so once a month, to get them on track. And I also create or help them create their own daily ritual, because I'm so big on daily rituals and discipline, through the day. You've got to do the work.
Wow.
So that cracking that sort of what their goals are, is that a realization for them as well?
Yeah, massively.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm just going over that process in my head.
What, how you set goals, or?
No. How I set goals, but also how that would play out for me if I had to write down something and listen to that every day for 2 times a day for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Well, skeletons are flying out of my closet. I want to be Batman. No, I didn't know that. Nah.
I think it just helps you get to you could do without the recordings, everyone could, just for 2 weeks. Just write down, we start with your personal wants and your professional wants, and it's literally a shopping list. Just write down and, do it for a month. What do I really want? What do I really want? What do I really want? And if you keep asking yourself, that's like, if you want the real answer from someone, you ask them 5 times or something, isn't it, to get to the real answer. So if you're asking yourself for 14 days, it's
going to come out.
What do I really want? Do I really want? What do I really want? And I think that there's so much that we can do. We can learn any skill, YouTube, you can do anything. And I think that we conform a lot to what we should be doing or what's cool in the moment or, but success is different for everyone. What do you really want?
Do you think the last few months have given people a bit of time to stop and reflect and work that out. And I guess the reason why I'm asking is that a lot of people are now opting to work from home because they're realising that they were able to have a bit more of a lifestyle,
Yeah.
Go for a walk, go to the gym, spend time with family, that kind of stuff. Do you
Drink at midday.
But do you think that's? I guess the question is, do you think your message is now easier to understand given we've spent two months at home?
I hope so. I really hope that people. Well, I hope that it doesn't just go back to the grind. I think it's. We were saying before, we were talking before that, we have to tell ourselves to, meditate, or we have to tell ourselves to just get quiet. And I was actually talking to a friend yesterday about that. She was sort of flying off the handle. She's feeling a bit depressed. She goes, I don't know why I'm feeling this way. And she said, I just realised that I was drinking more, not meditating, not exercising, these things. I'm going to stop doing that and I'm just going to get back on track. And I think, we're in such a fast-paced world that we don't have time, or we think we don't have time to sit and be silent and enjoy the silence. So I hope that this time people just haven't tried to fill it with more stuff,
Yeah.
It's great to learn stuff. I've been doing lots of learning online and everything, but be okay with being with yourself and being silent and thinking about what is important to you. Like, we've just had everything stripped from us. So do you want to go back to what your life was? I hope that people are questioning that.
I think it's brought, so when we started off the conversation, we talked about gratitude. I think this sort of scenario that we're going through, I hate calling it a pandemic or anything like that. Well, it is. But do you think
A situation.
Yeah, this situation that we're going through right now. Do you think it's giving people that sort of realisation, that gratitude, like people are, they've, so much has been taken away from us so quickly, and they're, to adapt to that, we're sort of, I know myself, I'm a lot more grateful of sort of little things that, I've taken for granted for so long. So, I think, I don't know what my point was, but I think.
Forced gratitude.
Yeah.
Really, like if you can't go, like I've missed the gym so much. I never thought that I would.
Yeah, so do I.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I love going to the gym, but sometimes I'm just getting it done.
Yeah.
But I've missed it so much. So and I've never really thought about being grateful for it.
Yeah.
So I think that it's funny. We talk about being so habitual, 97% of our behaviour. That was almost stripped away, like you don't get up and go to your local coffee shop and then go to work and talk to the same people. Like, people are creating these new paradigms because I'm at home and what does this mean?
Shook,
Yeah, that was one of the big things for me going back to the office was just breaking up, getting up, walking to the office, not getting up, walking to the lounge and then turning on the laptop, So, and now that the gyms are open this weekend, going to the gym outside, rather than having someone shout and scream at you in the lounge room on the phone. But just the home is now home rather than home, the gym and the office.
Yeah.
Which was a big thing for me.
And hopefully that can maybe separate, you hear a lot of people come home, bring work home or bring the stress home, hopefully you can leave that at the office and then, like you just said, home is home, with your family.
Very much, very much. Well, speaking of family time, Jackie, we're going to wrap things up.
Fabulous.
Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much.
Lifestyle Pirates. How do people get hold of you?
JaclynMorrison.com.
Yep.
Jaclyn Morrison on Instagram. Jaclyn Morrison on LinkedIn and Facebook.
Yeah. Lovely. And your name is again?
Jaclyn Morrison.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for sharing your journey, especially some of the bits. It's been great to hear your story, and I look forward to seeing how you're going to be transforming lives all over the world.
Thank you. Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you.